Hey friends, welcome back to Intentional Motherhood. I'm your host, Kelsey Red, and as always, I really appreciate you guys being here with me. I hope that this podcast provides some edification and encouragement to someone out there, and I just appreciate you guys being here with me because what's the point if not for you guys? Have you guys ever felt like you can actually feel physically your nervous system is completely out of whack? Like when you know that you are just about to have a meltdown, have a breakdown, whatever you want to call it. Do you know what that feels like? I felt that not long ago when I was like in the midst of studying for my real estate license. We had some issues going on in some investment properties that we own, and it felt like everything was going wrong. And every little thing that my kids did or any little stressor just felt like an absolute ton, like a ton of bricks on my back. And I could feel my body just reacting to the point where I was like, I'm going to get sick. I don't know if you guys have had those kinds of reactions. Like I can feel like the shakiness and the jitters in my arms and legs. I can feel this is something that's so crazy and hopefully it doesn't gross you guys out, but I have twice in my life been so stressed that I actually break out in hives. No, like absolutely no external reason for hives, but hives so bad that if I even touch them, like 10 more pop up. Only twice in my life has it happened. But this last summer, I was like, I'm on the verge of hives. That's how bad it is. I'm going to break out in hives any day now. And I just knew that my nervous system was like at its last wit's end. And I knew if I didn't do something, I was afraid I was going to break out in hives. And that is the ultimate pinnacle of stress for me is to break out in hives. And again, it's only happened twice in my life. And luckily it didn't happen this summer. And I was actually thinking about when I was getting through this, I was like, I'm so glad I didn't break out in hives because they'll like last for like days and it's bad. Anyways, when it has happened before, I joke that it's like I think the cortisol in my blood has gotten to a toxic level and I'm now like reacting as if like allergetically to it. Anyways, I don't even know if that made sense, but I was so happy that that didn't happen, and I was thinking about how long it's been since that did happen. It was probably a decade ago that that happened for the last time, and I was like, I think it's because I have so many more tools now. I have so many more tools to regulate and to stay calm and to manage my stress that I don't have to go into that kind of reaction. So I want to talk a little bit about this because we all are hearing the buzzwords about the nervous system and nervous system regulation and resetting the nervous system, but I wanted to talk about the truth and the, kind of science behind why this is actually a thing and how it relates to many other issues in our life, like our relationships, like our success in business, like our even finances. All of it is in some way tied to this nervous system regulation. And that is because of the physiological and neurological state that we're in. So when we talk about our nervous system being regulated, we're talking about being able to be in primarily our parasympathetic nervous system, which controls our rest and digest, our brain processing systems. It allows our blood pressure to decrease. It allows our heart rate to slow down. It allows us to, as the name suggests, rest and actually digest our food rather than being like creating IBS symptoms that feel like indigestion. When we're in this state, it means our body is regulated, our nervous system is regulated, and we are calm and we feel safe. When we're not in this system, when we're stuck in our sympathetic nervous system, which is the brain function and processes that are responsible for the stress response, right? Of course, you guys are familiar with the flight or freeze or fight a response. That's that stress response. And the sympathetic nervous system is responsible for those reactions. When we're stuck in that zone, then our heart rate is higher and we're feeling that jitters. That's the cortisol rushing through our bloodstream. That's those stress responses that keep us actually physically unhealthy. So this is why this actually matters. Because when we can feel more often in the safe sympathetic nervous system, then we are actually able to make responsible, informed decisions and choices about our life. We're able to react from a place of calm and a place of, what do I really want? What's in my higher interest? What's best for everyone in this situation? Versus reacting to things emotionally and, just reactively, just absolutely being triggered and making emotional reactions that are not good for you or your children or your business or your romantic relationship, but we're so triggered that we're just in that survival mode. We're fighting. We feel like we're, when like a caged animal is scared and defending themselves, that's us reacting from our sympathetic nervous system. We're lashing out at people. We're seeking to reestablish the safety, but we do it from a sense of defensiveness versus being able to be in a calm, secure state and then being able to react in trust and vulnerability, which, as you just picture that kind of dynamic, you can automatically see the connections to like your relationship with your spouse, because when we're constantly defensive and in survival mode within our relationships, we're not going to be acting in the best interest of ourselves or our partner or our children for that matter. And so this idea of being able to regulate your nervous system comes back to being able to shift your brain out of sympathetic nervous system and into your parasympathetic nervous system, thereby regulating physiologically your body, your heart rate, your blood pressure, your cortisol levels, and actually being able to be in a calm state. So when people are always talking about this, it's because the ability to be in that state allows you more options and opportunities for future choices and future behavior. And that's why it seems to be this connection between success in relationships and family life and business and finances is all tied to nervous system regulation. Well, what they're referring to is the ability to make informed executive functioning choices because you're in a calm state versus reacting defensively and, just not making the best informed decisions. You might be able to find some success in that way for a short period of time, but ultimately you'll burn out, you'll burn bridges, you'll just collapse into yourself, you'll break out in hives, whatever might happen because you're operating from a sense of survival and stress. So in practice, this looks like actually implementing skills that allow you to consciously, because all of this is done in your subconscious level, but there are ways to consciously activate your parasympathetic nervous system. And of course, you're going to think this is way too simple and come on, really? But it comes down to the breath. And that's why mindfulness and presence and meditating and breath exercises are so critical, because this is the link. And it's one of the only links. There are some other links that we found, including exposure to cold, like cold plunges have taken off recently. Everyone's into that, which I can't judge. I'm actually totally into it myself. There's a beautiful little river near my house that I have to jump in like several times a week. It's become an addiction, actually. But the breath is the first and foremost and most constant and readily available link to being able to consciously and proactively activate your parasympathetic nervous system. And I'm going to lead you through literally just 60 seconds of what this might look like. The key is to have a longer, slower exhale than you have inhale. When we're stressed, when we're in this, stress response that comes with the sympathetic nervous system, we typically have shallow breathing, where our shoulders are high and we're breathing from our throat and chest just barely. That's where our breath is taking place. When we want to activate the parasympathetic nervous system, we have to activate belly breathing with long, slow, deep exhales. So let's go through it. I want you to breathe in with me. If you can hold for just a moment at the top, that's great. And then exhale long and slow. Let's do it again as I catch my breath from all this talking. Inhale, nice and slow. Hold. And exhale long and slowly. One more time. This time we'll add some counting. Inhale, 2, 3, 4. Hold, 2, 3, 4. Exhale, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Inhale. Hold. Exhale long and slow. One last one on your own pace. Inhale. And exhale. So just that simple of an exercise, again, allows you to proactively and consciously activate your parasympathetic nervous system. And as we stay more regularly in a calm, safe, regulated nervous system, we will be able to have our prefrontal cortex online, allowing us to make informed decisions, to make decisions for our best good and the good of others involved, rather than lashing out or reacting defensively out of a survival mode. So I want you to try to just practice this like 3 times a day, whether you combine it with some other habit like brushing your teeth or eating a meal or going to the bathroom, or waking up or laying down for bed. Try to just practice this. Again, it took us, 30 seconds, a minute maybe. Try to practice this so that you can start to work on the skill of actively putting yourself into your parasympathetic nervous system. Let me know how it goes. Let me know if you notice a difference, if you start to feel more overall regulated, a little more safe and secured and grounded in your life and in your circumstances, and if it makes a difference in your life. I hope it does. Thanks for joining me today on Intentional Motherhood. I'll see you next time.
Thanks for listening to Intentional Motherhood. If you like the show, give my mom a review.